Hi everyone, I'm here today with 5 books that I read this year that I nearly never finished, and this might sound a weird idea for a video, but I was thinking I'm someone who really struggles to DNF books, with the idea behind it being that sometimes when I'm thinking should I DNF this book, I'm also thinking maybe it'll get better and maybe I'll enjoy it and then I'd miss out on something wonderful. And that is based on the fact that that happens to me quite often. All of these books I'm going to mention in this video are books that I was tempted to give up on for one reason or another, and all of them I gave at least 3 stars to. In fact, a couple of them I gave 4 stars to. So some people have got like a specific page quota to get to or whatever. Many people would probably have given up on these books if they were to go on those quotas alone, because these books were slow starts. And that's the issue with all of these, and yet I ended up enjoying to different extents all of them. So that leaves me with the whole continuing question of how do I decide when to DNF a book when this might happen. So here is 5 books that I nearly didn't finish and that I really enjoyed. None of them are 5-star reads, and that is why, because I nearly DNF'd them, but all of them are at least 3 or 4 stars. So if you're planning on picking any of these up and you find them slow in the beginning and you're tempted to DNF them, maybe it'll help give you that slightly longer kind of spur of I'll give you a bit longer a chance, because you'll know that I enjoyed them overall. So first of all, we have the book that I finished most recently, and that is The Sapphire Widow by Dinah Jeffries. This is a historical fiction set in Ceylon in 1935 and follows a couple who have got a few marriage issues here and there, a few trust issues, the odd argument here and there, and he basically gets into a car crash and dies when he's not even meant to be in a car. He's meant to be on a sailing kind of trip, basically. So she's left with all these questions and all these issues that have come about since he died, because he hasn't left her in a comfortable position at all. So this one, my main issue was, first of all, I've read a Dinah Jeffries book before. I've read The Tea Planter's Wife, so I knew what I was getting into. I knew that it'd be a slow burner and the mystery aspect would start coming into it, and that then I would really enjoy it and it would sort of pull me through to a wonderful ending. And to an extent that's what I got with this one, but the beginning kind of attracted my attention straight away, because I was like, oh my god, he's died in a place where he's not meant to even be. Oh, I wonder what's going to be the whole story behind this. But then the book took a real dip for me, and there was nothing to pull me in. There was nothing to make me want to pick it up. I was just like, I'm at the point right now where I don't actually care what happens from here. And I kind of really had to push myself through that first section after the initial intro. So I was like, this is really hard work. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe not all of Dinah Jeffries' books are for me. Just because I enjoyed one doesn't mean I enjoy others. And I was very close to DNFing it, but I kept pushing through, and I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I've got a full spoiler-free review coming up for this book sometime soonish. I'm not sure yet. I've not scheduled it into my plan. So if you want to know more about my thoughts, then keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it would have been such a shame for me to miss out on this book, and I came so close to giving up. Next we have another relatively recent read, and that is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. So this book, and indeed this whole series, is ridiculously hyped on BookTube. And I went into this kind of knowing that, but at the same time not really having any major expectations, because just because a book's hyped it doesn't mean I'm going to like it. And it's been such a thing for so long now that I was just kind of just trying to blot out the hype, if you will. So I started reading this, which is set in a dystopian world where this YA character, basically if she touches someone, they will die. So I started reading this and I started getting into it a little bit, kind of learning more about the main character Juliet and learning more about some of the other side characters. But there was nothing really pulling me in. And I've got to say, it got to a good 20% of the way through and I was still thinking, what do people see in this book, in this series? Why is it so hyped? Same probably at 30%. At 40%, I was thinking, I need to give up on this. This is actually just like crap. I don't know why people like this book. Then when I got to 50 and 60%, by luck I hadn't given up, and by luck it was starting to get a bit better, and by the end I absolutely loved it and gave it 4 stars. But that first half of the book was just pointless and draggy and too scene setting. I just didn't really enjoy it at all. I was like, I don't get the hype of this, I don't get it at all. And by the time I finished it, I was glad I read it, and I definitely intend to carry on with the series, although I'm not going to rush to get it. But at the same time, I'm thinking I could have easily given up on this book, and it would have been a tragedy because I really enjoyed it in the end. So another one. How do you decide when you DNF when you might miss out on a good read? Next we have a 3-star read, and this is Too Close to Breathe by Olivia Kiernan. This is a thriller that I just felt didn't pull me in properly. So the very beginning kind of pulled me in, and there were some gruesome crimes, and whenever a gruesome kind of murder appeared, it did attract my attention, and I was like, ooh. And for a few pages I'd be engrossed again, and then I'd sort of dip off again. And after a while of this, I kept thinking, why am I even trying to push myself through this just for some gruesome murders? Like, come on, just give up. But I made myself continue on, and by the end I was glad I did, because I really enjoyed the ending. But it's like, the journey to get there was such hard work, which is why this one got 3 stars. This one I could probably have DNF'd, and if I'd found out, my reaction at the end would have thought, oh well, never mind, I've not missed out on anything that great. So this one isn't quite as heartbreaking as the first 2 in this video would have been, but still, it was hard work, but worth it at the end. Next we have another one that was very hard work, but worth it at the end, and that is The Ashes of London by Andrew Taylor. And this is a historical fiction set in London during the Great Fire of London, or towards the end of the Great Fire of London. And it's meant to have a thriller aspect to it as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the first 15-20%, I enjoyed it a lot because I really enjoyed the scene setting, the whole aspect of London in that time period with the fire going on. I just thought that that was, like, the descriptions were beautiful. But then after that first 20%, I did not need continuous repetition of all the descriptions. We got to 50% and I was thinking, why have we still not got anything thrillery? This is meant to be a historical thriller. Where's my thriller? So I nearly DNF'd it. And it's only through my own stubbornness that I made myself continue on with it. I discovered the thriller aspect at probably about the 70% sort of area. And by then, I was like, well, I'm going to finish this now either way. And it's actually starting to get good. So I really enjoyed the last little bit. The thriller was fantastic once I got to it. But oh my goodness, I am glad of my stubbornness, because it was hard work to get to that ending. I loved the ending a lot, but it was hard work getting there, and so I gave this 3 stars. The final book I want to talk to you about today is Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet by Charlie N. Holmberg. And this is a fantasy novel. And I can't remember much about this one anymore, I read it earlier in the year. But basically, the bits that I do remember, the beginning was fantastic, although really confusing. I think it was confusion that played a bigger part in this for me than any sort of level of storytelling. So I was just continually confused, and I kept thinking, what's the point of me reading something when I'm this confused? I'm just not following it, I may as well give up. And that was the logic I was going with. Again, my own stubbornness, I kept going, and maybe about halfway in, I ended up actually really enjoying it and suddenly clocking what was going on and being able to follow the story and just feeling really kind of accomplished that I'd sussed it out and able to now follow this, in my eyes at the time, felt quite complex. And towards the end, I was fully gripped, and the ending just, like, oh, that ending blew me. So this book, in the end, also got 4 stars from me, and it's only through my own stubbornness, again, that I actually did make it to the end. So I want to make several of these videos, I think. Every once in a while I'll accumulate either some books from years ago that I've read that I felt like this about, or I will do like some recent reads, like these ones have all been from this year. And I'll do this every once in a while to prove my point as to why I struggle to DNF books. Because I think it's really interesting how some people find it really easy to DNF books, and do they ever think, I might be missing out on something that I'll end up loving? I don't know. Is it worth the effort? Even, I don't know. Because just because I love these books in the end, many of them led to me going into some sort of temporary, at least, reading slump. So was it worth it? Maybe not. But I did enjoy all of these books to a 3 or 4 star level, which I feel it would have been a shame for me to have not read them in the end. So I don't know what my takeaway from this is at all. Let me know some books that you nearly DNF'd but then ended up enjoying in the comments down below. Let me know if you've read any of these or whether you DNF'd some of these yourself. That would be a really interesting conversation, I think. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!